Danny, what does love mean to you? What is it?
I mean, I think it's the highest form of energy that exists in this universe. I think, love is the driving force behind all life. It's the one thing that we all, I think, that really live for, that means something.
Yeah.
And obviously there's different genres of life experience that give you the opportunity to fulfill that sort of, connection with love.
Mm-hmm.
So, that boils down to family and close relationships. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's probably the most important, thing that I've learned in life is that, if that isn't the pinnacle of all, importance, then nothing else matters.
Yeah. Osho says the beauty of love is that it never works. And what he means by that is, as long as you expect someone else to make you feel loved, you're always entangled in a codependent relationship and you're never actually free. So if you had to summarize what you've learned about making love work for you, what are some of the lessons that you've carried away that have led you to being a better lover?
That's a constant experiment I've been going through for quite some time. I'm starting,
experiment.
I'm learning lessons of that as we speak. So, it being, as you said, not being dependent on somebody else making you feel loved, but you feeling love for everybody else, or for whatever the universe provides for you, is, and being grateful in that way. And being okay with being, not, connected with somebody that's feeding that to you. Is something that I've, had a hard lesson in learning. And codependency obviously has existed in my life, and I think that's an easy trap for a lot of people to fall into. It's a comfort zone, and as brave as, some of the, things I've had to face in my, or, the challenges I've had and the bravery that comes with facing those in my life, some of the biggest challenges for me have been to identify those aspects of my personality and how I'm dealing with, identifying what's healthy with love, and what love really means, which is, actually liberating yourself and from codependency and relying on, other things to bring, it's almost a false sort of experience when it's built on, these other, things providing that sort of experience or feeling for you. I think that, you find love within yourself. If you can't love yourself and be comfortable with yourself enough to get through life, and to, be grateful for the things that you do have that can somewhat get, to that feeling to resonate, and you're not dependent on these superficial things to inspire that. I think that is the ultimate, connection with love that I've experienced so far.
When we're younger, and I suspect you'll agree with this, especially as males, we tend to equate sex with making love.
Yeah.
We think that when we're having sex that we're loving that person, and we assume they're loving us. Now as a 44-year-old man who's had ample sex and ample love, what would you say you've learned about the difference between sex and love in your life?
Well, I think that sex can be sex. You can also be, have feelings of love for somebody. And I think having sex when you feel that way is different than having sex with somebody that you don't have that connection with.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot more, pleasurable, meaningful experience when it is on that level.
Yeah.
But, sex is primal, and it is, regardless, I think it's instinctual for people to want to have sex, regardless if they connect on that level or not. But for me, I personally would rather connect with somebody on a spiritual level before having sex with them. And, and sharing a deeper level of connection, because I think it makes the sexual experience a lot more special, you know.
We used an interesting word, spiritual. What does the word spiritual mean to you?
Having, you know, a connection, an energetic connection with this person, you know, to feel like, you know, your souls are resonating together, that you're vibrating together, and you feel that warmth in your heart with that person.
What does spiritual mean to you, like living a spiritual life?
It's
versus a religious or an atheistic or an agnostic life, if those could be looked at separately from spiritual, although they may or may not be. But I'm curious because I know you're a spiritual person, and I know that you live a spiritual life, but I would love to hear when you use the term spiritual in the context of living, how would you encapsulate that for somebody who's never heard that word before or that expression before? What does that mean? How does Danny Way do that?
Well, I'm not an atheist, you know. I don't believe in one religion or the other. You know, I think there might be some truth to bits and pieces of a religion, and you know, but I'm not a connoisseur of following that you know, those, you know, ideologies or practices that some people do. But, you know, I do have, you know, a perception of a higher power in my life, and you know, I do believe that, you know, my higher power is love and energy and warmth and light and all this stuff. And I don't necessarily, you know, look in the sky and think there's like a Santa Claus in the sky, you know, looking over us. You know, I think the gift of, you know, love is essentially a connection to God.
Yeah.
And if you can find that, you're finding, you know, our Creator.
So you're saying that's the spiritual life?
The spiritual life for me, is you know, believing that is the gift that we are given from our higher power, and to connect with our higher power is through that gift.
Well, you use another magical word that often is very confusing for people, God. How would you encapsulate what God means to Danny Way?
You know, God is a general term I would use for any, you know, sort of, you know, everyone's open to their own perception of what, you know, what that higher power is or means. And to me, I'm just using it as a general term. But like I said, to me, I don't have, you know, a vision of, you know, a human sort of, you know, face or, you know, sort of character that lives in the clouds, and, you know, that there's a heaven up in the clouds or whatever. You know, I think it's, you know, it's more deep and cosmic than that. I think it's beyond our conscious reality to really understand. I think there's a feeling, and I do believe that feeling of love is, you know, essentially the gateway to finding where we came from when we, you know, and being in tune with that to be able to, you know, to connect with other vibrating people on that level while we're on this planet.
So if you were to just put a kind of a one sentence encapsulation, that if one of your kids said to you, Dad, what is God? What would you say?
I would say, you know, to each and own, really. It's, you know, it's hard to say. We don't have a lot of answers to that question. It's more about, you know, our experiences in life that drive us to believe what we believe. And, you know, and my experiences have led me to have this perception. And, you know, my kid, I would explain him probably the same way I've just explained it to you, and you know, leave it open for them to, you know, really figure out what that means to them, because you know, it's hard to be judgmental in a genre of, you know, different people's outlooks on what God means, or what our Creator is, or what religion is. And you know, I'm not biased to anyone's perceptions. I just have my own, you know, sort of relationship with an energetic higher power, I would say. You know, it's a feeling.